There we go. Happy Wednesday. Everyone, was it Wednesday? I'm all weirded out. Too many Thursday games, too many Monday night games. We're all over the place, but welcome into today's members only Q&A. Appreciate you guys being here. And thank you so much. I can't say it enough. I know I say it every time, but thank you so much for being members. Really appreciate you guys a ton. It really goes a long way in supporting the channel. So you're the absolute best. Appreciate you. We'll get to as many questions as we can over the course of the next hour or so. And who better to start with today? Well, we got a new member, first of all. Sebastian Coronado Quesadilla or Quesada, sorry, Quesadilla. Oh, that's what type of day it is for me. Sebastian, thank you so much for signing up. I appreciate you a ton and appreciate that. And then we'll start with Ben with our first question of the day. I get they're not great, but why do some people act like the win over Seattle wasn't a good one, as if they're a bad team? I get they're not world beaters, but I didn't know if there was anything more to that. Yeah, no, I don't. I think Justice and I talked about it, right? And we started off with that right away, and Justice right away said, like, really good win. It's a really good win on the road. Now, is it Detroit? Is it Philly? Is it Minnesota? Is it, Chiefs, Bills, something like that? No, it's not quite in that category, but it's a really good win against a team that had won 4 in a row, that had everything to play for, that was playing really good defense. I mean, they were not allowing points at all, and Green Bay went up and put 30 on them. Was never particularly close. I know the Geno Smith injury obviously hurts and, put them in a Sam Howell situation, but Green Bay just went and took care of business in all phases, by the way. Like, this was not, well, the offense carried them or the defense carried them or they got lucky with a blocked special teams kick. I'm just realizing too, I think I forgot to do the members only on this one. So yes, everyone's getting a free members only Q&A today. My apologies, guys. Like I told you, that's the kind of day that it's going for me. But yeah, thanks so much for being here. This is what you get if you're a member. So sign up to be a member so you get these extra Q&As. But yeah, to me, that's still a very, very good win against Seattle. So no questions about that whatsoever. No apologies needed. I will take a 30 to 10 or 30 to 10 win. It was 30 to 10. I'm all over the place today, guys. 30 to 13, right? 30 to 13 win over Seattle. And that was, again, a really impressive performance. And like I was saying before, I realized it was more than just the members in here. It was a win in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. So, no, I really appreciated what they did in that game. And I don't think anyone needs to handicap it in any other way and say, oh, but this. No, it was a good win. Chicken, good to see you. Hi, Andy. I feel like the Packers are finally figuring out what to do with a healthy Christian Watson, and I love it. I know it's too early to tell, but I bet they re-sign him and Romeo Doubs next year. This is an interesting one. I was just having a chat recently with one of our Hall of Fame members, and we were talking about this, and he was asking, like, well, would you do Watson? Would you do Doubs? I still have on the mind right now that I probably don't go into this offseason feeling like I need to get extensions done for either. He actually brought up a great point of, like, well, what if you give Watson a contract extension now, right? How's Doubs feeling about that? If you give Doubs a contract extension now, how's Watson feeling about that? And I think for Watson, while he's played well this season, I think you want to go and see him have another healthy year next year, right? Because that has not been the norm for him. It's been awesome that he's been able to stay almost entirely healthy this year. And then for Doubs, you did have that suspension earlier this year. So if you get into next year and he's maybe not getting the ball again, is it still an issue? Like, how does he handle this offseason? I think there's still questions with both of them. I don't think either of them are, sort of top tier upper echelon wide receivers. And I could see both of them on the open market getting huge contracts, because when you hit the open market, that's usually what happens. So I could see their agents being like, if you're only going to give us a mid-tier contract, we'll wait till free agency. I could see the Packers being like, no. We don't want to give you that type of contract right now. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. They're going to have to figure out what the right calculus is and what the right number is for both of them. And until they kind of figure that out, then that to me is why you probably take a little bit more time and decide first and foremost, who's your priority. Then you'd get another look at Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed and try to figure out, like, what are they looking like? Is Bo Melton a factor? Is Malik Heath a factor? Do they draft somebody in this year's draft? So I think there's a ton of factors that really go into this, and they're going to have to figure out exactly what the right pathway forward is at the wide receiver room. And I'll just add one more thing on top of that. If they can find a way to continuously churn this wide receiver room and make it so that you are constantly having young, cheap talent at that position, that might be the way to go too. It might be like, we're going to let Doubs and Watson play out their 4 years on super cheap contracts, and then we'll let them go get paid in free agency. Meanwhile, we have another year of Dontavian Wicks and Bo Melton and Jaden Reed. In the 2025 draft, we're going to take a wide receiver or two in the first 4 to 5 rounds. We're going to continue to stock that position. Then, the following year we'll have, again, maybe Wicks and Reed in those 2 draft picks. And then next year, if they don't want to re-sign Wicks and Reed and let them go sign big elsewhere, now you've got those 2 other draft picks, maybe 2 more draft picks that come in the future year. Or maybe you just bring Reed back, or maybe it's just they're going to have to figure out a lot of the calculus of exactly what they want at that position, how they can still keep it cheap. Of course, the Jordan Love contract is going to continue to have an effect on this roster over time. So if you can get cheap at a position elsewhere, they're in a beautiful spot right now where their wide receivers and tight ends are making absolutely nothing. So there's a way that you can continue that. That would certainly be nice, but you don't want to let good talent go out the door either. So there's going to be very challenging questions, but I do agree. Healthy Christian Watson's looked good. I love the way he's playing. He's a consummate professional. He's doing everything that they would ask of him. And I really do hope that they find a way to get him back in some capacity, because he's a perfect fit on this team. Wouldn't it be fun to see Malik Willis play every now and then, like the way Taysom Hill does for the Saints? It would give another thing for defenses to prepare for. Thoughts, Derai guy? You must be new here. And I say that in kindness, of course. I've talked about this on numerous occasions. I am not a believer in this philosophy at all. Jordan Love's your guy. Jordan Love is the more talented player. And to me, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm going against Green Bay, every single time you take Jordan Love out and put Malik Willis in, I'm sending a gift basket. I'm sending a thank you card. I'm saying, oh, thank goodness. It's like when you had Drew Brees at quarterback and Taysom Hill was coming in. Yeah, it's great that Taysom Hill brings you this unique little package. You're taking Drew Brees off the field. Now, if you have Derek Carr and you have a inferior quarterback, or you're at backup quarterbacks or whatever, and you want to put Taysom Hill in that situation, fine. That of course. If Green Bay's starter was, I don't even know who, if they had, again, like a Derek Carr situation and you had Malik Willis, first of all, I might just be saying start Malik Willis in that situation. But if you're closer to that, then try some bleep out, but, no, if you had a play, if you had like a 2-point conversion play, or you had something that you just thought was unstoppable because Malik Willis was in the game and nobody could see it coming or something. It was it was a sure thing, but you needed a more mobile quarterback to run it or whatever. Okay. Maybe once, maybe one time, maybe on that particular play, any sort of package. Again, anytime you're taking Jordan off the field, it to me is a net negative. And I have no interest in Green Bay trying to figure something like that out or going in that direction. So now I want Jordan on the field. I feel great when Jordan's on the field. I like Malik Willis, but not that much. Not enough to take Jordan off the field. Was LVN's bad grade due to lack of pass rush, or also a bad run defense day for him too? The first thing I'll say is it was a -0.4 for LVN. So it looks like he was the lowest graded player on the day. If your lowest graded player is at -0.4, you're having a really good day defensively. In fact, this was the highest graded defensive grade that I gave the team on the season so far. So the defense had a really good day. There were not a lot of negatives in this game whatsoever. LVN, I thought, struggled primarily as a pass rusher. He was pretty good in run defense. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head if there was any egregious run defense plays. It was just more of he could not get off box. There's a couple times where he just ran into a brick wall. There was one play where he started to engage and then he got forced out of the play. I think there's another play where they kind of bring him and get him to the ground on a play. So there's just a few plays where he either ends up out of the play or on the ground, and then just really couldn't get anything going from a pass rush standpoint. So a couple good plays in there from LVN. I still think if you're looking at my LVN grades over the course of the last, let me just bring it up really quick here. All right. So LVN grades, let's see, over the past 4 weeks, for example, over the last month, I have a plus 0.4 grade on LVN over the past month. So is this some unbelievable game changer, something like that? No. But has he been a positive for Green Bay? He's been arguably a neutral sort of net positive player. I don't think this is we're not talking about a guy that he's on the field and just oh my God, I can't believe LVN's on the field. What are we doing here? He's been fine. He's been a solid rotational piece. And again, a -0.4 is not anything super egregious in this scenario. All right, let's see. I am going to do members only chats in here since this was supposed to be a members only Q&A. If we have time for more at the end, I will, but we'll obviously always get super chats to the top, but we will do members only chats otherwise today, since again, this was supposed to be a members Q&A, but I totally forgot to switch it. So my bad on that. Also, I'm with you on the ledge about Cooper. I want him to play closer to being the inside linebacker on the field full time, temper expectations, but allow him to make mistakes. Even with the mistakes, him being out there should be frustrating for defenses, and make mistakes worth it, learning opportunity. So to me, I am more in the middle on this. I love Cooper. I think he's a stud. I think he's going to be a just dynamite player. I think we've gone over that in pretty good detail. But what I will say is what they're doing right now is working. There's no reason to overload him. I definitely don't need him calling plays at the moment. I don't need another thing on his plate. There's no need for that. It's not necessary. So if you're going to take that off of his plate and say we're not going to have him call plays, now he's not in on dime defense. That's okay. That's like 5 snaps a game. And what I like him out there, sure, is it a game changer? No, it's going to be something like 3rd and 16 if you're in dime. Your linebacker's barely a part of the play. So you're fine in that situation. In base defense, if they just want to be like, hey, we really want Edgerrin to focus on nickel right now, I'm fine. Like if you want to go with some form of Quay when he's healthy, Eric Wilson and Isaiah McDuffie in base, and again, just put less on his plate. So when he's out there, he can flow faster and just go out and make plays and know what he's responsible for. Give him specific packages and formations at this point in his career. I'm totally fine in that too. Like nickel is going to be like 45, 50 snaps a game. I'm cool with that. If you want to make him so that he is your primary nickel back and you're not going to take him or nickel linebacker and not take him off the field when you're a nickel, that's where you need to get to. If he's not out there in base as of right now, I'm not concerned about it. If he's not out there in dime right now, not concerned about it. He should be out there in every nickel defense. That's where I wanted to get to. And if Green Bay's in nickel and he's not out there, then I think you have a problem. But right now, that I think is a really good amount for him to chew off. Like you feel comfortable with that. You feel like you're not giving him too much. You're giving him one sort of specific formation. He doesn't have to remember if there's different rules when you're in there with 3 linebackers or just 1 linebacker. Just give him exactly what he's supposed to do in your 2 linebacker defenses and let him go hunt and let him do work. I think right now that's probably the best way to use him. Dry Guy, what's your score prediction for Packers Saints? I'm going 42-14 Green Bay Packers. I love it, Dry Guy. I'll get into this as the week goes on and we'll do our final prediction, but I talked to Aaron Nagler today about it. We did a preview and I did say, and I said, I think I said on the radio show today too, I think Green Bay is going to win by more than 14 in this one. That's my prediction. It's a 14-point spread right now. So I'm going to say they're going to win by more than 14. They're going to cover. Killer, I know this isn't a members chat, but this is a good question, so I'll just answer this one really quick. Since covering Packers is your job, do you watch away games in your office, or do you still sit back on the couch with some snacks? Right here in the office, TV on, computer by me. Usually it's second stream of the game going, so if I want to see a replay of something that I can, taking notes, getting ready for a post-game show right after, tweeting things out, everything like that. So just a lot better in the office. Every once in a while, there was a game. What game was it? There was a game recently where I actually did just spend time enjoying the game with my family upstairs. And that was fun. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But you know, it was in the last month and a half, and it was awesome. It was fun, but it is nice to just be able to take notes and do everything during the game. So I don't have to kind of go back and, you know, take a bunch of notes during the rewatch or things like that. All right. Ben, your good official party starts here. All right. That was when I was running late. Who isn't a regular contributor now that you think could have a major impact in the playoffs? I was actually thinking about this the other day, Todd, of like, is there anyone that's maybe that they haven't utilized yet that there could still be this like step at some point in the season? My honest answer is I don't think there's anyone. If there's obvious answers to this, it could be like getting Luke Musgrave back and having him be a part of the team in some capacity of like, you know, actually getting him involved. I don't think it would be Marshawn Lloyd, but especially with the way the running backs are playing, but maybe a Marshawn Lloyd, if you got him back and he showed something, could be something to that effect. Outside of that, I don't think there's going to be somebody else. There's really nobody on defense, right? Because they've played all of their defensive linemen. I don't think it's all of a sudden going to be Tyron Hopper. They've played the rest of their linebackers. They've played pretty much all of their corners. I don't think it's going to be Ballantyne or Rochelle. I don't think it's going to be Zane Anderson or Katano Ladapo. I don't think they're going to find like a new returner out of nowhere or anything like that. So if I'm saying, I think it would probably be Luke Musgrave and or Marshawn Lloyd. I think those would be the only two that would kind of come to mind in that particular scenario. Andy, will you be doing another one of these live streams where members can join you? Are you talking about like all pro Hall of Fame members, Alex? I do want to, where they can actually join in the chat. Yes, I know what you mean. I do plan on doing that at some point. I was hoping to do one during the bye week. It didn't happen. I think in the off season, I will definitely be planning to do a lot more of those. In season is just madness and craziness. But yes, I do want to do for Hall of Fame and All Pro members, specifically ones where people can actually come in and be on screen with me and we can kind of go back and forth and ask questions. So yes, it is on my to-do list, but I don't know that I'm going to get to it anytime in the super near future, but I definitely have plans of doing it again when we get a chance. When's the last time I slept 8 hours? I think there was a Sunday recently where I was able to sleep in. Probably went to bed at like 2 a.m. and probably slept till like 10. I think there was a Sunday recently where I did. Usually I can get a little bit more caught up on Sundays, but I still have a lot of youth sports. Like this Saturday's basketball. This Saturday we've got the Admirals game, which I'm really excited about. And then this Sunday I should be able to sleep in a little bit, but it's I don't usually get too many of those in the regular season. So I was talking to Dusty Evely about this a little bit last night of like, because we were talking about like, we both love this to death. There's nothing else we'd rather be doing, etc. But like, it's definitely a grind. Like it definitely a grind. And I'm like, I'm not in no way, shape or form am I wishing any of the season. I don't want the season to be done. I'm having a blast. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving every second of it. But I'm also well aware of when the season is done and just being like, just a little bit of an exhale. And it like my dad was actually asking me about this too. And like, it's less busy as soon as the season's done, but it's not busy. Like it's still like free agency draft kicks off right away. Like I go into hyper draft mode and trying to figure out and watch as many of these prospects as I can in high detail, watching the all 22 of them. We still have members only Q&As. We still have a daily episode. We still have, 2 a days on the audio side. Like we don't really stop in any major way. So there's less tape to watch from like a post-game situation. There's a few other things that are a little bit less, but there's a lot that still goes into it, and there's still a ton of time. So it's easier, but it's not a lot easier. I'll put it that way. But no, it doesn't happen a lot in season though, Brandon. Good question. Jen, good to see you. I just put vanilla syrup and espresso into my Dr. Pepper. Pretty good, but the video downplayed the explosiveness of the crema with the Dr. Pepper foam, and I made a mess. Oops, is that a commercial that just played, Ben? I don't know what that means exactly, but I am not an espresso guy or a coffee guy, but I'll put vanilla into pretty much anything. Do I think we might get CV as a full-time starter outside now? No, I don't think they're going to do that. Camilo Jimenez, thank you so much for becoming a new YouTube member. Appreciate that a ton. You're awesome. King Kermit, how long can the NFL wait to flex games in and out of primetime? Monday for Green Bay and New Orleans seems overkill. Yeah, they can't do it this week still. It's 11 days in advance. I want to say something like that. So obviously the Saints game is going to be Monday night. There is still an opportunity they could flex Minnesota, Green Bay into the 3:30 p.m. slot. The odds that they take, Philly, Dallas out of that are probably insanely slim, especially as after they've maneuvered everything around. Now, if like Jalen Hurts were to get hurt this week or something like that, and it was going to be like Marcus Mariota versus Cooper Rush, then I think you would potentially see that get swapped. But barring anything crazy happening in the Dallas and Philly games, I think that'll stay, and I think Green Bay will stay at noon. But theoretically, that one could still move to the 3:25 slot or 3:05 slot. But my guess is it probably stays at noon. Rams, Lions, Vikings, bring them on in the playoffs. Camilo, I like your attitude. Bring on the best of the best. I don't want any asterisk next to it. I want to go out. You want to be the man, you got to beat the man. I want to go out and beat the best teams in football and be the true undisputed world champion. I'm all for that. Think UW Health can do something about Jaws injuries? I don't think Jaws have been quite as consistent. He's had the shoulder. He's had some, PCL stuff. I think he's had more of a variety. So I think with Stokes and Watson, it was a little bit more of like hamstrings over and over. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they'll look into everything. I'm sure they are looking into everything with all of their players to try to make them healthy. But yeah, it's just a bummer. Jaws had a ton of different injuries and just can't stay on the field. And it's certainly been detrimental to Green Bay. Ken, hey, Andy, I said Cooper was the key and he delivered. Man, was he awesome. He was absolutely awesome. My highest graded defensive game of the season in that one for Edgerrin. So that was the best performance that anyone had on defense all year per my grades. And he was the highest graded defender by PFF this week, NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So yeah, you don't have to have all 22. You don't have to have a knowledge of how to break down film. You can watch that game live and know exactly the type of impact he made. He was awesome. He's going to be an absolute stud. Name one unrestricted veteran free agent you would like to see Goot go after, and one draft eligible player in the draft. Mike, I will not, nor could I probably do either at the moment. I've talked about this a little bit before. I am always for multitasking and looking ahead. If I spend a ton of time right now in free agency and looking ahead at the draft, I'm not covering this team. I still have a whole offensive grades from this past week to get to. I've graded the defense. I have not had a chance to grade the offense. I'm going to do that as soon as we are done with our chat here today, so I can get that grades article up over on Packer Report, so that I can get the grades video up tomorrow for Pack a Day. Already finished up with Mike. Well, here was my morning, by the way. Just if you're always wondering, this is what my day has looked like so far. I woke up. I went to bed at 2:30 in the morning after finishing up defensive grades and uploading the podcast, editing, everything like that. Went to bed at 2:30, woke up at 7:30, did the radio show at 8 o'clock today. So 8 o'clock was the radio show. Did that from 8 till 9. At 9:15, I talked to Mike Wall for tomorrow's show from 9:15 to 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock to 10:30, I talked to Aaron Nagler. From 10:30 to 11:30, finally got a chance to eat some breakfast, take my vitamins, take a shower, do all that sort of stuff. 10:30 to 11:30. 11:30 to 12, I talked to one of our Hall of Fame members. 12 to 1 today, I'm doing our members only Q&A. And then I will be going immediately from that. I have a couple things on my to-do list I have to get done. Nothing major, just a few minor updates. Get ready for the Pack a Day live tomorrow. Just a couple of those sort of things. And then as soon as that's done, we'll go into grading the offensive film for the remainder of pretty much the day. Then I've got an appointment at 4:30. Then I've got bringing my kid to soccer at 5:30, bringing both kids to gymnastics at 6:30, getting home at 8-ish. And then we'll finish up probably with defensive grades. Hope to write the Packer Report article for tomorrow at that point. Edit the Mike Wall episode, get that uploaded. Edit the audio episode for tomorrow, get that uploaded. And then by the time that's all done, we're probably looking at another 1:30 in the morning, getting up tomorrow. And then obviously prepping for the radio show tomorrow, getting Ken Ingalls up to speed for his gig on the radio show tomorrow. And then, then we've got 8 o'clock radio tomorrow, and we start all over again tomorrow. So it's a busy, crazy life. Like I said, I wouldn't rather be doing anything, but to your point, Mike, or to my point from earlier, if I was spending time looking at free agents and for the offseason and draft, like getting ready for the draft right now, I would not be doing the stuff that I need to be covering the team, appropriately and properly in season. So if you want a little bit more offseason, I did an offseason look ahead video, probably right around the bye week. I want to say maybe it was like a month ago now, but like who's becoming a free agent, who they're going to have to make decisions on, what their draft needs could be, what they could maybe look at in free agency, some things like that. So there is a video out there on the YouTube channel if you want to take a look at that. What I want to know is why they haven't flexed Green Bay, Minnesota to Sunday Night Football. The current matchup is bad and all the others are pretty bad too. So there are rules of which games they can flex and why. And with it being a division game, my understanding is one of them, Packers Vikings, one of them needs to stay on Fox, and the other one was already a CBS game, which was flexed for a variety of reasons. So this one had to stay on Fox. So the only thing that they could have done was either put it at noon or 3:35. Unless Fox, I'm sure, could have probably waived it or figured out something. But my guess is they did not want to do that. And they probably wanted that Fox doubleheader, right? Packers, Vikings in the opening window, then going to Cowboys, Eagles in the second window. My guess, or even if it ends up the other way around, Cowboys, Eagles first window, Packers, Vikings in the second window, my guess is they very much wanted that doubleheader. So Fox had say over that. I'm sure they didn't want to give up that game. And the NFL could not just flex that game into Sunday Night Football. So the only option would have been 3:25 or 3:05 if they wanted to make that a later game. Miami, Cleveland was awful. At least now with Michael Penix being there for the Falcons, that makes that a little bit more intriguing for Sunday Night Football next week. People act like Taysom Hill always makes big explosive plays when that happens. Sometimes it does, but more often it's either a throwaway or a minimal gain. Listen, I love the Taysom Hill experience. I think it's really, really creative. I think he's a really unique player. I think they were really smart to find a role for him. I'm just like, if you've got a great quarterback, then I just want the great quarterback on the field. Start Lloyd as much as possible. Marshawn Lloyd, you mean? Certainly not start. That's Josh Jacobs' job. And I love Emmanuel Wilson and love Chris Brooks too. But I do think that there's a opportunity to get Lloyd going. Hopefully maybe in that Chicago game, if it's a glorified preseason game, just to give him a look, get him some snaps. And, he's just going to need a little bit of experience, even if this is a lost season for him as he gets ready for next year. Just any experience that he can get is going to be a benefit at this point. Would you rather see Bucks or Rams in the wild card round? Packers will have to beat 4 great teams in the playoffs anyways, but which of those do you think presents more issues for the Packers? I mean, I think both are really good. I think both can beat Green Bay. I think Green Bay can beat both of them. I have a little bit of concern over this Rams team. Like, I think they're starting to play good ball. I mean, that win over the Bills has to catch your attention, right? Like, that worries me. Like, Stafford can beat anyone on any given day. Kupp and Nakua are a nightmare. Kyron Williams is a good running back. I love Jared Verse, like one of my favorite players in this last year's draft, and he's been an absolute stud for them along that defensive line. Now, Matt LaFleur has pretty much owned Sean McVay, so that is a benefit of that. But I don't love either of those matchups. We saw what Baker Mayfield did. I know it was Joe Barry. I know it wasn't the same defense, but we saw what Baker Mayfield did against his Packers defense just last year. Perfect QB rating. They did not have an answer from Mike Evans at all. He's slinging the ball unbelievable right now. Their defense looks good. I'm not excited about either of those matchups. But to your point, I don't care. I don't care if it's Detroit, Philly, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, the Rams, the Falcons. I don't care. Go out, play your best brand of football, and go out and find a way to win, regardless of who it's against. Would you like a semi-easier team in that first round to get you kick-started, going in the right direction, gaining some momentum? Yes. Did it matter last year when they got that momentum against Dallas and then lost to San Francisco? No. So you've got to find a way to navigate a really tough schedule by any means necessary, no matter what. Don't care if it's Tampa. Don't care if it's Philly. Don't care who it is. Find a way to win. You're good enough. You can beat anyone. Now it's just up to going out and executing. If Green Bay does that, it shouldn't. The matchup should not matter. I really don't know. I really kind of don't want to see either of those teams. I think I would lean that I'd rather see the Rams. That might sound crazy. I think Green Bay has more ways to beat the Rams. And going to Florida for that game, Green Bay always is weird situations in Florida. And yeah, I think I would actually choose the Rams. And like I said, Matt LaFleur sort of owns Sean McVay. So I think I would go Rams. But again, both games are going to be really, really tough. Either of them, I should say. All right. Neo the One Corgi, thank you so much for signing up to become a new YouTube member. Appreciate you a ton. You've been a member before. I think that's probably a re-up if I remember correctly. Ski, what kind of schematic differences are you seeing between Hafley and Barry? I love when Justice gets into the X's and O's of defensive scheme. So it's crazy because I think we all went into the season being like, oh, Jeff Hafley's going to play a lot more man defense. No, he's played a ton of zone defense. Certainly seen a little bit more cover 3, cover 1 than what Joe Barry was doing. We saw a lot more cover 4 out of Joe Barry. What we see a lot more out of from Jeff Hafley, simulated pressures, blitzes, unique rushes, and disguises, a lot more disguises. So what Hafley was doing this week, disguising stuff, was so much more pretty. You're just making things a lot more confusing. It would be akin to, imagine on offense, if you just never used play action or motion or anything like that, it was basically kind of like, kind of the McCarthy offense when it needed to evolve and just wasn't evolving. When you were in your static 11 formation or 11 personnel with 1 running back, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, it looked the same every single time. It was just 2 outside wide receivers, a wide receiver in the slot. There was no movement. There was no motion. There was no nothing. It was out of shotgun. There was no real like under center play action stuff. It was just static. And when you get to that, it makes it really easy for the defense to kind of pare down what's coming and know what you're going to be able to do or limit the amount of options. It doesn't cause any chaos or confusion. You're just being able to go out and execute against a very static offense. And Green Bay knew they needed to change that. They get Matt LaFleur and they completely redesign the offense. And he's been brilliant with the way that he has designed it. Every year it's something new. He continues to evolve. But imagine if you just played 11 static, like you'd be so far behind the 8 ball right now. On defense, it was sort of the same thing. Under Joe Barry, it was just, we're going to line up, and it's obviously more nuanced than this, but if we're going to the lowest common denominator, watering this down as easily as possible, it was just a lot of cover 4, keep everything in front of you, put that umbrella over everything, and make sure that you go and rally and tackle. rush with 4 guys. Don't really make it ever, confusing as to which 4 it's going to be. And the offense just could easily game plan for that. And they knew what was coming. And it made it really difficult for the defense to be put in advantageous positions. And now you've got players lining up everywhere, players motioning post snap, making it extremely difficult to tell if it's going to be cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, man zone, etc. And then throwing simulated pressures in there, not knowing which 4 guys are going to come up front. Are you bringing guys off the edge? Are they loading up one side? It makes it that much more confusing in a pre and post snap world as a quarterback under Jeff Hafley than what it ever was under Joe Barry. And Ben Fennell will preach this till the day that he probably doesn't have breath in his lungs anymore. And I'm 1,000,000% for him. There is no perfect defense. All right. You can have great players and you can have great scheme. There is no perfect defense. If there was a perfect defense, that play would be called over and over and over. Everyone would be running 3-4 or 4-3 or the same sort of nickel. Everyone would be running cover 3 or cover 4, cover 2. There's nothing like that. Green Bay started with a cover 3 call this past week, and Seattle had a beautiful cover 3 beater and just annihilated it. Picked up 20 yards. They caught something on tape. Justice and I talked about this. Caught something on tape. Knew exactly what was coming. Got the look that they wanted on that little out and up. Keyshawn Nixon goes in the flat, and Carrington's going up the sideline, but he's kind of got 2 people he's got to be aware of, and you've got the guy wide open on the sideline. That's a cover 3 beat. They're in cover 3. It's a cover 3 beater. And those are the sort of situations where you're going to sometimes catch teams in the looks that you want, and you're going to be able to run stuff successfully because of that. And you can't just be like, you can't do Seattle anymore and just be like, we're going to play the same defense over and over. When I mean like the Legion of Boom Seattle, we're just going to run the same thing over and over. It doesn't work that way anymore. You can't do it. It's way too hard because every team has cover 3 beaters, cover 2 beaters, man beaters, and they're just going to spam that stuff if you keep playing the same thing over and over and over, which is why it's also that much more important that you are able to not have a tell of what type of defense that you're playing and can switch things up pre and post snap to make it look different and to make it so that you can't just get those easy of like, oh, they're in cover 3. Let's run a cover 3 beater. Like you don't want to, if you're lined up in a very obvious cover 4 look and you're expecting cover 4, you're going to call a cover 4 play, or like vice versa. If you're expecting cover 4 and you don't get cover 4, and it's very easy to tell that, they probably have a check out of that. We're like, are we going to get out of this cover 4 play? We were expecting cover 4. We didn't get it. And they're just going to can and go to something else. So you got to be able to be more, confusing for the offense and what you're trying to show to them and make it so that you can't get an easy tell off of it. So a lot of really fun stuff with Hafley. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to get a stop or a play, but it has been a way more fun way to play football, watch football, and it just makes things way better and more advantageous for the players on defense. How do we match up with the Saints? What should our expectations be? We match up awesome. Our expectations should be a relatively easy win. I don't guarantee it. Like the Saints have played everyone tough. They came within a 2-point conversion of beating Washington last week. So you don't take that for granted. The Saints just can't match up with Green Bay from a talent standpoint. It's in Green Bay. It's at home. Probably going to be cold. The Saints don't really have anything to play for. Rizzi's done a really great job with that team, but there's nothing that you point to in this game. We'll see where Kamara's status is, but they're going to go with probably a rookie quarterback in Spencer Rattler. You thought that Geno Smith and especially Sam Howell at times had trouble deciphering what was going to happen. Good luck to Spencer Rattler in this one. Like head is going to be spinning with what I'm sure Hafley's going to show to him. So just don't give him breathing room to begin with. Don't give this like all of a sudden like the Saints are up 10-0 or something like that. Just get this up to a 17-3 lead early and make it so that they don't have any hope, and don't give them any hope through the course of this game. That's what I want to see in this one. No preferred playoff route or opponents, Camilo. Give me whoever you got. I want your best of your best. I want Green Bay to go out and be the absolute best. Please make Nixon the full-time punt kick returner. Reed doesn't need to be doing that right now with all the drop issues. Yeah, I mean, the issue is like Nixon's had issues with drops too, and he's a very sporadic player as a punt returner. He's a great kick returner, punt returner. He like you'll see him catch a lot of the balls like above his head. He's a little bit more of a gambler. He's not often going to take a fair catch. Like if you need a big play, you put Nixon back there, but just know that he had a muff that he missed earlier this season that really cost them. Was that in the Vikings game? I forget which one that was, but he had a muff that really cost him in a game earlier this season. So, yeah, I don't know if there's a perfect answer there. Jaden Reed is supposed to be the safe option where you feel comfortable with him catching everything. But for somebody with 9 drops and now, again, a couple bad decisions on punt returns this year and a muff punt, like, yeah, I don't know that they have a perfect answer. Probably not going to find someone. My guess is that just stays Jaden Reed, but something that they probably need to look to in the offseason just a little bit more. Andy, I can't imagine if you did drink coffee. Oh my, I would love it. I've tried to figure out a way, like give me all the espresso and stuff. I cannot stand the taste. Absolutely cannot stand it. I love me some soda though. No place like Lambeau Field, of course. But have you been to an away game that had a mystique or a great game day experience? SoFi Stadium was 90% Packers fans, so that was the best for us. I've not been to many away games. I was at St. Louis in the stands as a fan when the obviously the Rams were still playing in St. Louis. I was at the Metrodome when it was still the Metrodome. I was in the new Viking Stadium as a fan. I was at M&I or something. I don't even remember what that one is, but in the new Viking Stadium. I think that's it. St. Louis Rams, both Viking stadiums. Never been to Chicago, never been to Detroit. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so not many away game situations. And it's hard, right? Like, especially with what I'm doing now, it's really difficult. And yeah, when you have season tickets too, it's just so easy to go to a home game, especially when I'm 20 minutes away. So I did a few of them, again, St. Louis and a couple Minnesota ones, but for the most part, no. And St. Louis, like that dome was awful. Like that was like there was no character to it whatsoever. It was really weird place to watch a football game. Metrodome, it was unique, I guess. And then the new Viking Stadium, they did a good job on. Like it's a cool stadium on the inside, no question about it. But nothing like that's anything like Lambeau. I've been to a lot of baseball stadiums. Wrigley, I still think is really cool. I do think Target Field in Minnesota is cool. I think the Busch Stadium in St. Louis is awesome. My favorite is San Fran. I've been to a couple games in San Fran. That stadium right on the water, cold as hell, man. Like even if it's like a 70-degree day, like bring a freaking winter coat to that thing because that wind whipping off the water is freezing. So that's one thing you learn really quick. But that stadium is awesome, or that ballpark, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, been to more baseball stadiums, believe it or not. And I think for basketball, I think I've only ever been to the Bradley Center and the Resch Center. So not a ton of travel, but more baseball than anything else. I've been to DC for a game. I've been to New York for a game. Yeah, so a lot of baseball stadiums, not many football or basketball. All right. Dark horse AFC playoff team. I don't see Chiefs making it out of the divisional round. I still think this is Bills. I think the Bills come out of the AFC this year. I think this is their year to come out of it. Dark horse would be Texans. Texans have been bad at football for the most part. I don't think they're a great team right now. I still think they have the pieces to be really good. I still think they have the weapons at wide receiver that they need. I still think they should be able to run the football with Mixon. I think Stroud just needs to find his stride a little bit. I think they have what they need on the offensive line. I think Will Anderson's a stud along the defensive line. I think they've got good corners, good safeties. Stingley's been playing awesome. Like that would be still my dark horse, where I think there's a good team there that's hiding. I don't know if they come out of hiding. I don't think they're probably not ready yet. I'm not predicting them to make the Super Bowl or anything, but they would still be my dark horse because I think they actually have the talent. They just haven't been living up to it. But I think this is Buffalo's to win. Yeah, so I'll go with Buffalo, but my dark horse should be Houston. I do not work for the Packers in any capacity. And all the things that I do, YouTube channel, audio channel, Packer Report, radio show, in no way am I actually affiliated with the Packers in any way. I am credentialed by the Packers. They do give me a media credential for Packer Report, but I am not affiliated with the Packers in any way, no. Which players do you see not returning for the 2025 season? Yeah, this is one that we kind of went over in that off-season video. So I'd recommend checking that out. Off the top of my head, that like the decisions they're going to have to make, right? On offense, there's not many. It's Josh Myers and Andre Dillard basically on offense. You could add AJ Dillon into that and to some extent, I guess, and like a Tyler Davis if you wanted to. But for the most part, their decisions on offense are really going to come down to Josh Myers and Andre Dillard. And Dillard's really not anything to talk about anyway, because he's gotten like 5 snaps this season, something like that. So Really the question mark on offense is Josh Myers. Defensively, TJ Slayton at defensive tackle. That's a big one. And I guess not a big one. He's like played like 13 snaps a game, somewhere around there, but that's a decision they'll have to make. Eric Stokes at corner. We've talked about if they want to bring Jair back and pay him, if they want to bring Keyshawn back and pay him, those are decisions that they're going to have to make. Isaiah McDuffie at linebacker, Eric Wilson at linebacker. Those are the key ones. And then Brandon McManus at kicker. Those are your main decision makers this upcoming offseason. Let's see. Emmanuel, what do you make out of Stokes' play? I'm kind of intrigued why they haven't given a shot to King. It seemed like he made some good impressions in the offseason. Yeah, we talked about this a little bit as well. I think Kalen King's a developmental redshirt guy. To me, he's not somebody that's ready to come in and contribute. He's not on a 53-man roster. No team at any point this season thought about bringing him in on the 53-man roster. He was like 5 picks away from being an undrafted free agent. I think we've put a little bit too much stock into Kalen King. Is he a fun redshirt developmental guy that you bring back next year and see if you can make something out of him? Sure. Do I expect him to have any impact in 2024 whatsoever? No. As far as Stokes, it's not been good enough. I do think he's been playing a little bit better as of late. I think that's been more a little bit into the positions that they've put him in, but he has been a little bit better as of late. Had a positive grade for me this week. I know PFF liked him a lot this week. I was a little bit less than that, but I still had a positive grade on him. So better from Stokes, but in my opinion, Stokes would still be not seeing the field as long as everyone was healthy. Now this week that he needed to, right? Stokes, Valentine, Nixon needed to be the corners, but if everyone's healthy, there's really not a situation where Stokes should be on the field at this point, and they should probably let him go in a different direction in 2025. Packers better than most teams. Go Pack Go. I love that simplicity and beautifulness of that statement, Daniel. All right. Kind of interesting that the Falcons said they wanted to copy Green Bay's method of developing quarterbacks, and then they go and start their rookie in year one. Often, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Like every team wants to have that situation. Nobody can ever replicate it. Often envied, never replicated. Everyone wants to be able to say, yeah, let's draft and develop a quarterback. Let's give him time to develop. Let's get a starting quarterback so that we don't have to put him in right away. Good luck. Doesn't almost ever happen. And like, let's be crystal clear here too. It's not like it's a freaking picnic in Green Bay when these things happen. Half the fan base is ready to explode because they didn't take Michael Pittman or T. Higgins, right? They're not maximizing Aaron Rodgers' window. What are we doing here? You can't call yourselves a legitimate franchise when you're doing this. That's not fun. How about having to trade away Brett Favre and having a super messy divorce? How about having to trade away Aaron Rodgers and having some definite huge pain points along the way where Rodgers is demanding trades and wants out and things like that, and you have that tension. There's some frustrating aspects of that. It's no picnic along the way, but if you can pull it off, it definitely pays dividends down the road, and it certainly has done so. So often again envied, but very, very rarely, if ever, copied to the extent that Green Bay's been able to do it in a couple different occasions now. So good on Green Bay, but it's a lot harder than what it seems. All right. Daniel, Packers are more 11-1, 11-2 team if we had a kicker in the beginning. It's a good way of looking at it. I mean, they could be a little bit worse if they don't block a kick against Chicago too. I mean, these are the beautiful, versions of the NFL of we could go in the multiverse and see. There's probably a multiverse in which Green Bay is like fighting for their playoff lives right now. It's probably a multiverse in which they're maybe a one-loss team. Like the line is very, very thin. It feels to me that 10-4 is about right for this team, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't feel like they are like they should be like an undefeated or like a one-loss team or something like that. I don't feel like they should be a 6-loss team or anything like. It feels like 10-4 is kind of what they feel like. Inconsistent, really good moments where they look amazing, moments where you're like, oh my God, can you just play good football? They're young, they're inexperienced, and they still have a ways to grow. But I love this team. They're 10-4. They're really fun, and I'm really excited to see what they can do come playoff time. Had you update my payment method? Happy to continue to be an all-pro. Neil, you're the absolute best. Thank you so much for that. Alex, thank you. I know you're a redo member as well. I know you were in here before, so thanks so much for signing up again. I believe this isn't the defense Hafley wants to run per se. It is obvious the defense still needs some pieces that fit perfectly in his scheme. I will agree and disagree. I don't think Jeff Hafley cares what his defense. I don't think he cares if it's cover 2, cover 3, single high, 2 high, cover 4, blitzing a ton. I don't think he cares. I really don't. I think he wants to go with the best possible matchups that he can any given game day. I think that's legitimately what he wants to do. Like, he's going to look for weaknesses, just like Matt LaFleur, right? I think Matt LaFleur wants to accomplish different things in different games on offense, and he goes up and draws a game plan to do that. I think Jeff Hafley's very similar on defense. What I will agree with you with, Manuel, is I don't think he has his full poo-poo platter of plays and schemes available to him, because he doesn't have, I think, the corners in particular, and maybe some of the coverage players that he needs to go a little bit more man, press man, and use more of those. Do I think if they had, 2 or 3 more, awesome press man cover corners that they would be doing it? Yes. Do I think that they'd be doing it like 70% of the time? No, I do not. But I think he would love to have more optionality, more options in this offense or in this defense to be able to do different things like that. But I don't think he ultimately cares what defense they're playing. I think he feels just like Matt feels like he can drop any offense to be successful. I think Jeff feels like he can drop any defense that he needs to be successful. But I think he would love some more options and some more different ways that he can go about attacking teams. And I think he's playing with a deck that's missing a few cards right now. And if Goody can get him those missing cards in the offseason, then look the hell out. Assuming Jeff Hafley doesn't get a coaching job somewhere, which I don't think is going to happen. There's starting to be a little bit more buzz of that. I don't think he gets any, it wouldn't stun me if he got like an interview or something, or if like some team brought him in just to kind of pick his brain. I don't think he gets a job, but depending on how Green Bay finishes this season, if the defense looks amazing and they make a Super Bowl run, then we might have to make a little bit of a different conversation about Jeff Hafley and what he might get in the offseason in regards to offseason interviews. Go Pack Go, most state of Minnesota. Thank you so much for being here as always. I'd rather have a GM who can nail rounds 2 through 7 than round 1. It's a good way of looking at it. I've never really thought about it that way, but like I've talked about this. 3, one stud, 2 good players, and like a rotational player, like a depth piece. That's what you're looking at in a draft. Like four players, 1 stud, 2 starting caliber players, 1 rotational special teams depth piece. You can get that on any draft. I don't care if it was from undrafted free agents. I don't care if it was a 2nd round, 4th round, 7th round, compensatory selection. Don't care. Find me 4 players, 1 stud, 2 starters, 1 rotational dude, and I'm going to feel really good about that overall. I made it. Happy hump day. John, good to see you, my friend. Alex, LVN, and Wyatt will have huge 2025s. All right, sign me the hell up. I'm going to hold you to that, Alex. It's on you one way or the other. Packers are favored by 14 now. I don't gamble, but if I did, I'd smash the Packers. This team is coming together and is a big problem. I said earlier, I think Packers are going to win by more than 14 in this one. Loved your grades. Any chance you might post the full articles elsewhere for international folks? Unfortunately, the website you're currently posting doesn't allow international cards. That is not my call. That's the one thing I do not kind of have control over. Packer Report is the one that decides to put that behind the paywall. And that's where I get my credential through. So I don't have a ton of say over that one, unfortunately. I do try to do the video every week to give you kind of best and worst and noteworthy performances. So those are kind of the main ones to know. And then at the end of the year, when I do post like the final articles and go through the full grades, those are usually open to everyone as well. So at the end of the year, when I do post the final grades for everyone, I will post that as well. So keep an eye out for that at the end of the year. Sorry if I said this already. I know Morgan will probably be a good player, but I'm disappointed with the timing of this pick. Spend a first on somebody who probably won't even start their second year. I think he'll start next year. Jordan Morgan will be a starter next year. I don't think Myers will be back, and I think he'll be a starter. So they'll get him a starter next year. I think he would have played a lot more this year had he stayed healthy. I think it's just more victim of health more than anything. I think he's going to be a good player, and you can never have enough offensive linemen. That pick will still pay dividends. Could there have been better options? Sure. Are there almost always better options? Yes. But at the end of the day, I think they'll be pleased with that pick, and I think he'll be a really nice offensive lineman for Green Bay. I live in Florida. Weird things definitely happen when the Packers come down here. I was there for that brutal 38-10 loss a few years ago. Maybe I should stay away if the Bucs are in the wild card. I still have faith in you, Richard. You can go get us a win. But yeah, I kind of am okay if this ends up going not to Tampa. But again, it's going to be hard no matter what. You can argue that Tampa's still the easiest team that would be left. You could argue it, but I certainly would not feel like going into that game of like, yep, this is an easy win. Green Bay goes to Tampa, wins by 14 or anything like that. It'll be a tough ass game. No question about it. Interesting. I did not know that. Ben, is that true? I don't feel like that's true. Is that true? I don't know anything about coffee, so you're probably right. Went to Packers-Rams game this year at SoFi. It was like 60-40 Packers or 60-40 Rams. I'm assuming 60-40 Packers, but either way, it doesn't surprise me. What's your Mount Rushmore of energy drinks? Kickstart Orange, Kickstart Grape, Kickstart Fruit Punch, Kickstart Black Cherry. There's my Mount Rushmore right there. I love Kickstart to death. I would not stop drinking Kickstart all day if it would not kill me. I would literally just be going one Kickstart after the other. I am not I'm not just saying this of like, don't do drugs, kids. I don't like drugs. I just not my thing. Don't like the way it feels, anything like that. But my God, do I love Kickstart. Like, I feel like I've never done cocaine or anything like that, but like, that Kickstart is my cocaine. Like, it is I could drink it nonstop. It makes me feel like I'm on top of the world every single time. Like, I'm in my happy space. It's so funny because I have gone on really, really conscientious kicks where I'm eating unbelievably healthy food. Like all just like raw ingredients, nuts, fruits, vegetables, eggs, chicken, things like that. Super, super healthy. We'll be working out aggressively, like doing a ton of workout stuff, like just getting a ton of sleep and things like that. I will drinking a lot of water, and everyone will come up to me and be like, "Oh, you just must feel amazing. You're doing everything." And I'm like, I feel so much better when I'm eating McDonald's cheeseburgers and having a Mountain Dew Kickstart than any other point in my life. Just give me crappy food, no sleep, and a bunch of Mountain Dew Kickstarts, and I feel like I'm a god. Like, it's the best feeling in the world. So I don't know why. I don't know how it works. I'll probably be dead by 48. I don't know, but I love it. And like I said, if it were socially acceptable, I would be, or if it was not going to kill me, I would just be pounding Kickstarts all day. So 4 different versions of Kickstarts go on my Mount Rushmore of energy drinks. Tailgating was almost taken over by Packers fans. That does not surprise me. All current wide receivers are still on rookie contracts next year. Do you believe that all of them will be back on the roster next year? Or do you believe Goody will try to get something via trade? I think all of them will be back. It wouldn't stun me if he made a move. Like, I think to me, Dobbs would be that player, right? And I just think he's too important. So no, I think all of them will be back. I know Jacobs wants the ball, but that guy needs a few plays off. We need him fresh for the playoffs. Let's keep him under 20 carries for the rest of the regular season. I think you'll see them be a lot more conscientious with that over the next 3 weeks, especially like he might not even play against Chicago. That could be a glorified exhibition game. And then I think this week they'll try to keep it easy. We'll see what happens in Minnesota. That could be a little bit more of a heavy carry game, but my guess is they'll take it a little bit easier with him over the course of the next 3 weeks in total. Lambeau Field has never killed birds. Go back, go. I agree with that. Oh, it's AT&T. I thought, is it Minnesota's AT&T? I thought Dallas was AT&T Stadium. Or US Bank. It's US Bank. US Bank is what Minnesota is. US Bank, not AT&T. Off-season prediction, the Jets cut Tay. The Patriots signed him to a big contract. If he would be willing to go to New England, I could see that. Remember, this is like a player who wants to be going out and winning games and playing with like established quarterbacks. I don't know that he would take Drake May and a rebuild in New England. I don't know that he would do that. I'm going to say this. I don't know if I totally believe it in myself yet. This is the first time, and just watching him in that Jets game the other day, this is the first time where like I kind of have a small inkling of like, maybe. They're not going to do it. They probably shouldn't do it. But for the first time, just watching him again the other day, I'm like, man, maybe I would at least consider it. And I'm talking obviously from a Packers standpoint. They won't. It's not going to be a conversation starter. We don't need to do a big thing on it. But that, like, just watching him again the other day, I'm just like, oh, that looks a lot of fun. Like, I think he could actually be like still a major difference maker in this offense. It's a delicate topic. It's a delicate subject. You don't really want to mess up the feng shui of your current wide receiver group, but like there would something that would be about it that I think would still be really special. But like I said, we don't need to spend any time on it because it's not going to happen anyway. Will the Packers pay Zach Tom? I do think so. I think so. I'm going to say that they sign him to a big deal, big contract extension this offseason at some point. I'd like to see Matt LaFleur pull some offensive linemen. Tom, maybe. Jenkins, maybe. It will have to be I'd like to see Matt LaFleur pull. Oh, I thought you meant like pull them out of the game. Like, are we sure we want to pull these guys out of the game? I thought then maybe you were talking about like just in these last few games to get them rest. But I see what you're saying. Like, I think the run game is going well. And my guess is we could still see some of that stuff as the season goes along. Like, Matt will like change up his run game in like an instant, and you don't know what's going to hit you. So it wouldn't surprise me if like we came out playoffs week 1 and we're just doing a bunch of pin and pull stuff and pulling guys. Wouldn't be stunned at all. Would not be stunned one bit. I think they've rebuilt this offensive line run game based on what Josh Jacobs likes. I think that's a real consideration as to why they've built it the way that it is. And we've seen some of the less zone stretch and pull plays and things like that. So I think that's a Josh Jacobs thing, but I wouldn't put anything past Matt LaFleur at this point. Sergeant Dan, thank you so much. I love everything you're doing, man. I was in the 12th man group in Seattle, 7th row on the 40. I'm 100% with you, and it's not wrong. Edge Cooper is our first generational middle linebacker since Nitschke. Great kid, too. Met him in July. Sergeant Dan, first of all, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for going there and supporting the team. And yes, I am not tempering my expectations on Edgerrin Cooper. I am beyond excited, and glad you got to go to that game. Really, really fun one to see on the road. Pick up Packers win. Glad you got to go to that. Have you been prepping to be a hockey puck? I don't even know exactly what it is. I probably should be more nervous than what I am, but I'm just going into it blind, and they're going to be like, you're a human hockey puck. And I'm like, all right, why the hell not? I'll have a kickstart beforehand and I'll feel superhuman and everything will be great. Are you hearing anything about Jacob Monk's progress during the season? Could he be in the top 7 in rotation next year? No. And in fact, him being deactivated in every game now is a little bit more concerning to me, where they have Dillard and Travis Glover and Telfort all active ahead of him every game. Like, so that doesn't seem to be trending in a great direction, but no decisions on anything long-term are going to be made now. To me, he'll probably be a depth piece on the offensive line next year. He and Glover and Telfort will all have to make the team again next year. My guess is they'll grab a couple offensive linemen in the draft, bring a couple guys in maybe via free agency to be depth pieces, maybe bring a Dillard back or something like that. But I think it'll be good competition. I think he'll have every right to earn that top 7 spot next year, but he's clearly going to have to earn it. It's definitely not going to be given to him. But Atlanta struggles more on the offensive coordinator than Kirk. You sign him and then don't use him at what he's best at. I think there's a piece of that, but Kirk has also been like really bad. Like, you can point some of it to the play calling and play design, but like also Kirk has been terrible. So I think there's a little bit of both. I do think Penix will just fit that system better too. And I think Penix might just be better at this point. I think they needed to go in that direction, but yeah, it's not awesome on offense right now in Atlanta. Thank you for the uploads at 3 a.m. Pacific time. I'm a truck driver, and those uploads help a lot. Camilo, you're more than welcome. Glad you're not the first person to mention something like that, of how those late night uploads can go a long way. Obviously, if you're a member, you get it a lot sooner as well too. So yeah, definitely make sure to become a member if you're not already. You get those uploads a little bit earlier. And if you're driving at night, if you're doing something at night, those early uploads can definitely be helpful from what I've heard. Well, my goodness, Ahawk 899, thank you so much for that. My pet peeve when it said Love gets $55 million per year. Yes, it's actually only about $46 million per year. Lamar's still the second highest paid quarterback in the league, while people don't know it. No, we've talked about that, right? Like, if you add in everything together and look at it in its totality, it is like, listen, agents love to spin it, right? And then the Schefters and the Rappaports love to spin it. It was a great deal for Jordan. It was exactly where it should have come in. It also was a great deal for Green Bay. Like, I think that is what we should be talking about here. Is it was a great deal for Jordan. It was a great deal for Green Bay. That's all we need to talk about. There's no other, like, however much he gets paid, however millions that he's making, him being on the team is a value add for Green Bay at that number. Jordan getting paid that much is not like a major discount or anything like that. He's getting paid the way that he should. It's a great deal for both sides. It's a great contract. And I think both sides are probably very, very pleased with how it has turned out so far. Love Pack to be aggressive on close 4th downs. They will be. I promise you, in that game, they didn't need to. In that game, the aggressive play was to be non-aggressive. That may not sound like it makes sense. I promise you, at least in my mind, it makes sense. I promise you, Matt wanted to go for those 4th downs with every fiber of his being. Going up 3 scores and taking the 17-point lead in a game where you knew Sam Howell wasn't coming back from that was the smart move, was actually the aggressive move in that situation. I honestly truly feel that way. It's aggressive sounds good. I will take smart over aggressive every single time. It should be smart and then aggressive and then everything else. Like I want smart aggression. I don't want ruthless aggression. I don't need John Cena fest here. I don't need ruthless aggression. I need smart aggression. And I think that's something that Detroit struggles with, to be honest. I think they are on a scale of 1 to 10, they're at an 11 from an aggression standpoint, right? And that can hurt them. In that scenario, in that game, in that particular game, Green Bay going for it would have been non-smart aggression, in my opinion. Like they needed to play that smart, take the 3-score lead, don't do anything stupid, keep it at a distance, and don't let Seattle feel like they had any real chance in that game. That was the right move in that decision. I guarantee you will see them be a lot more aggressive moving forward in games where they need it to be aggressive. And I think they'll do that, but they need to be smart first, and they were in that situation. He didn't set the world on fire for the Seahawks, but I still wish the Packers had signed Jalen Sundell as a UDFA this year. By the way, has there been any indications about Donovan Jennings' development? Yeah, I thought he had a nice game going in that one. That would have been a fun UDFA signing. And no real update on Donovan Jennings in any way that I've seen. I'm hopeful that he's progressing, but not enough, obviously, to call him up or anything like that. But hopefully they can just keep him redshirted on the practice squad for the remainder of the year. He doesn't get signed by any team, and we'll see what he can do in training camp next year. Elton then moved to center and Morgan at left guard. That's one possibility. I did talk to Mike Walt today too, and he was pretty adamant that he thinks Sean Ryan can make that move inside to center, and that Sean Ryan could be the one that's at center and then Morgan at right guard. So we'll see. There'll be a couple different options. It could be Monk, could be Morgan, could be Monk, could be Ryan, could be Tom, could be Jenkins, could be somebody they sign or draft in the draft too. So we'll see how it pans out. But I think the beautiful thing is that they have options if they do move on from Josh Myers at some point. Your rhythm and tempo on the radio show is damn near perfect. Did you do radio in college? And what challenges did you have with the transition from this to that? Sergeant Dan, that actually means a ton because I have no idea what I'm doing on the radio. I've never done any radio before. I'd never done any podcasting before I did podcasting. So no, I had never done anything like that before. As far as what challenges? The biggest challenges for me were just, again, going from some of the differences. Did my screen just change? Weird. Sorry about that. The biggest challenge is just going from podcast to radio. There's just a few more transitions, a few more of like, hey, we're talking to so-and-so from the Pack-A-Day podcast or whatever, reading some of the ad scripts real time and things like that. But for the most part, it's funny. When I did the TV show Green Bay Nation back in the day, there was this situation where all the teleprompters went down and Marcus and I we don't use the teleprompters really. We're just we're analyzing. They're asking us questions. We're answering it. So we don't really need the teleprompters for anything, but obviously the person hosting needs the teleprompters. And there was a panic. They're like, oh my God, we don't have teleprompters. How are we going to do this? And I'm like, you can literally just put me on the camera for 30 minutes to talk Packers and I'll be totally fine. Like if you need me to talk Packers for 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 24 hours, 40 hours, whatever you need, I can probably get on a camera and talk Packers nonstop for however long you need. Now, thankfully they figured out something. I don't know if the prompters went up right beforehand or whatever, but it wasn't an issue. But I'm like, literally, if you just need me to sit here and look into the camera and talk Packers, like just keep asking me questions and we'll be fine, or I can do whatever. Like that's the easy part. I can talk Packers for an hour on any given day. It's more of just the transitions in and outs and those sort of things that were a little bit different, finding a little bit of a different cadence. But I think for the most part, if you listen to the radio show, it's similar to what and how I kind of talk here, but just a little bit of a different nuance when it comes to some of the transitions, the opens, the closes. And I think there's still a lot that I can learn and get better at in that sphere. But I really appreciate the kind words because like I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm one of the weird people. I am just arrogant enough and stupid enough that I feel like if you put me in a situation, like I'll figure it out. All right, that's fine. You want to put me on the radio? Awesome. When I went on TV for the first time, never been on TV before, I was expecting there to be like, here's what you should do. Here's what camera you should look at. Here's whatever. And I'm like waiting for like this, or like, I don't know if they were going to do makeup or whatever. And we're just like sitting at the desk and all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're on in 3, 2, 1. I'm like, all right, here we freaking go. So like, I don't know. Like I said, it's probably just dumb arrogance, if nothing else. But I'm just like, you want me to do a radio show? Sure. I'll figure it out along the way. I should start a podcast. All right, I'll start a podcast. I'll figure it out along the way. I don't know why or how, and I'm not perfect at it. I'll be the first to admit that, especially from a radio standpoint, podcasting, breaking down film, whatever. You look at any one thing, there's probably somebody that does it better than me. I know there's somebody that does it better than me, right? But I feel like there's a variety of different things that I can do. I enjoy doing them. I think that the one thing that is always going to come through with me is my passion for it. And I think when you have that, it covers for so many different things. I might not always get my words right. I might stumble across or upon something. I know I talk way too fast. I will not apologize for that ever. I talk fast because I'm excited about it. When I tell people this all the time, if you and I were talking, I don't know, anything else besides Packers, I'd probably be talking a lot more like this. It'd probably be slowed down quite a bit more. I'd probably be, if we were talking about a new grocery store going up in Green Bay, about what I'm going to be doing for dinner this afternoon, it'd probably be a much slower paced, easygoing conversation and tempo. Maybe some people would like that. Screw that. I'm talking about the Packers. I'm freaking excited. I want that excitement to come through in my voice, and it's going to come through in my voice. And I think it's going to come through in everything that I do. So whether it's radio, TV, podcast, audio, video, that's the one thing that I want to be able to always have is you're going to tell that I'm passionate about it, and I want that to come through. And again, whether I do some other things, I know I go to some phrases, 1,000,000%. I know there's other ones too that people always call me out for. What's the other one? Some way, shape, or form. There's a multitude of them, I'm sure. There's definitely phrases that I go to more often than I should, whatever. It's not perfect. I get that, but I enjoy doing it. It's fun. I get to talk Packers every day. And whether it's on, again, whatever medium it's through, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. And but I do really appreciate that, Sergeant Dan, a ton. It is. I run a coffee shop. Well, there you go, Ben. You know more than me. If I ever need for a barista on the show, you're my first go-to. Lighter than the roast and more caffeine. This is a true story, by the way, Ben. My 2 jobs ago, before my last job, I worked at a company called Ensight, which if you're in Green Bay is Cellcom. So the Matt LaFleur Cellcom commercials, the Mike McCarthy Cellcom commercials. I was in a Mike McCarthy Cellcom commercial, by the way. I don't know if you could find that back in the day, but I was in one of those. That's another story for another day. I kind of totally forgot about that. I think it's my back to the camera though. I don't think you can see my face, which is probably a very smart move on their end. I'm saying I have an awesome ass is what I'm saying. I'm also saying I have a face for radio. But no, I was in a Cellcom commercial. But when I worked there, I had gone through, I literally just worked my way up. I started as a customer service rep, went to a team lead, became a customer service manager, went into human resources as a recruiter. And my last job there was they owned at the time 4 coffee shops. They were opening one in Green Bay. They had one in Sheboygan, one in Shawano, one in Sturgeon Bay. And what they wanted for some reason is somebody to not only be a recruiter, like they wanted me in particular. I was going to still stay a recruiter, but they wanted me to oversee the 4 coffee shops as the operations manager for Gloss, is what the name of the coffee houses were. So in my last job there, I was not only a full-time in HR, but I was also the operations manager for all 4 of our coffee houses. As somebody who does not drink coffee, knows nothing about coffee, and hates coffee, I was overseeing our 4 coffee houses. By the way, 2 of those have since closed, not due to me. We were fully functional. We were adding coffee shops while I was there. We added the 4th one while I was there. 2 of them are since gone. That was not due to me, by the way, but I do have coffee shop experience. It's just in a very weird roundabout way. And I never have made a cup of coffee to this day still. So that's also true. Who's getting cut if Lloyd comes back this week? Would we really keep 4 running backs on the roster? They will absolutely keep 4 running backs on the roster. They do not need to cut anyone. They have a spot open on the roster. They would need to cut somebody if they brought back both Musgrave and Lloyd, or they would need to cut 2 people if they brought back Musgrave, Lloyd, and Jordan Morgan. But you'll get to those decisions when you need to. I would think if they needed this, they have 1 spot available. I would think that John Fitzpatrick would probably be in jeopardy when Musgrave comes back. If they needed 2 spots, if they needed 3 spots for Morgan, Lloyd, and Musgrave, then you start getting into a bit more of a, all right, what do we want to do in this situation? Because then there's not really anyone that totally makes sense. You're then talking about guys that are usually more on the, inactive sort of list. Well, Robert Rochelle would maybe be one that comes to mind, but I don't know that they're going to want to release him, but that's a possibility. I don't think they're going to cut Kitano Oladapo. They're obviously not going to cut Tyron Hopper. Definitely don't think they're going to cut Brenton Cox or Aaron Mosby. Don't think they're going to cut Travis Glover or Jacob Monk. I don't think they're going to cut Malik Heath. So, or Travis Glover. Sorry, we said that one. If they need 3, that's where it becomes a much more interesting question. I would probably say Robert Rochelle, and they'd probably just feel very confident that they could get him back on the practice squad, but he's also out of elevations, which means you can't elevate him even if you do get him back on the practice squad. So that makes that complicated. They could probably do like a Corey Ballantyne and then try to get him back on the practice squad and then elevate him if you need him. And that becomes a more interesting question if they need all of them. But for now, I will say that, they probably just get 2 back at some point, and then they just go with the one spot that they have, and probably Fitzpatrick. And then there's probably some other injury along the way, right, where they need to put somebody on IR, and then it just kind of washes out at some point. Derek need to keep all 4 next year at least. I think that's probably true as well at the wide receiver position. Shrimpus, Green Bay's elite quarterback play thrives due to a strong, consistent offensive line. What makes them stand out in O-line development across the league? So I think the way that they develop offensive linemen and draft offensive linemen and just their sort of overall process with it is really smart. I would say they go towards athleticism and agility, really focusing on pass protection. Guys that have usually played tackle in college, so that they've been kind of the go-to guy in college for, their number one lineman, basically. Kick them inside if they need to, let them develop. And I think they've been really great at that. I don't think they're the most mauling physical offensive line in the world. I don't think I'm breaking any news by saying that, but I think their agility and their pass pro has really gone a long way in helping them be successful. All right. If Kamara is to play, it'd be an interesting test for a better run defense. Not sure how he does in the cold, though. Yeah, that'll be an interesting injury to kind of keep an eye on through the course of this week. All I want is whatever Jameis Winston has to be as calm, cool, and hilarious as he is. Yeah, he's a character for sure. No question about it. Chris Brooks looks like a good running back. Yeah, that's why I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they're going to keep all 4 of those running backs. Most hated, I might be coming your way for, did I miss something? I'm curious. Are you going to Minnesota, Sergeant Dan? You guys got to meet up. There you go. Look at this. Friendships being made. Vex, hi, Andy. Have a good Christmas. Vex, that is very, very kind of you. Thank you so much, my friend. And thank you for coming to so many of these chats. Your support is amazing and appreciate you a ton. Don't get me wrong, though. Interested to see how Atlanta does because Penix was my favorite quarterback coming out this year. Very interested to see how he does there. How can we possibly only get Musgrave involved in this offense the right way? How can we possibly only get Musgrave involved? I feel like this group could be extra dangerous if so. Yeah, I was talking about this also with our Hall of Fame member right before this, but I don't think this is going to be something where he comes in and makes a major impact this year. I think he gives you a little bit more depth, gives you an upgrade over Sims and Fitzpatrick. I think you can use him in the red zone. I think you can use some more 2 tight end sets. You feel a lot better if Tucker Kraft goes out for a few plays that you've got Musgrave in there. I don't think that the offense is going to change appreciatively through the remainder of this year. I think this is going to be something where they work him back in, probably is closer to 10, 15 snaps a game once he gets back. And then you probably look at kind of reconfiguring the offense and doing some more 2 tight end sets next year. But Tucker Kraft's the guy. He's tight end 1. That's not going to change. I think you slowly get him reacclimated. I think you try to get him up the seam and use some of his speed. I think you try to utilize him in the red zone a little bit more as well. I think that's where you're trying to utilize him. But I wouldn't expect, just get him a little bit more involved, see what he can give you, but don't expect much the remainder of this year for him coming back, getting his legs back underneath him. It's probably going to take a little bit of time. They're probably not going to divulge or delve too much into getting him a ton of specific reps coming his way or things like that. They'll just kind of work him in slowly. It's probably again not going to be a big impact in 2024, but I think just even him being out there is just another option for Green Bay, which you'd love to see. No, we are about to end it soon. Thanks as always for the daily content, Andy, man. You have a great rest of your day. I will, and thank you so much for that, King Kermit. I think I'm okay with Matt LaFleur's decisions on the 4th down stuff. I am too. He'll be aggressive when he needs to. Matt LaFleur is a damn good coach, in my opinion. You are damn right, Vex. He very much is. Poker Matt has more football knowledge in his pinky than you have as a whole. Was there I don't know what that was in regards to, but that's okay. It's only been a year and a half, but it's amazing how different we feel about Jordan Love when compared to last time the Packers played the Saints. Very much so. Remember, trade deadline last year, Goody was saying at this press conference of we're going to have to see what Jordan's got the rest of this year. Like, there was still a very big question of like, was he even going to be the guy moving forward? And now he is the dude and one of the top quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. Loving all the coach GMs act like they're better than the people who are actually in the league. Hey, I love being a coach GM. No slander towards coach GMs. I am a well-renowned coach GM. So you take that back, King Kermit. I just don't see Tom moving off right tackle. I agree with that. I very much agree with that. Let's see. Matt is so much better than half the coaches in the league. Some of y'all can't handle anything but perfection. He's a great coach. I would agree that he's a top 5 coach as well. Rather him go for challenges than never go for them, though. And again, no one's perfect even in the league. If challenges are his kryptonite right now, so be it. It's not even a remote conversation for me. He's lost 6 challenges. It's not affected anything in any major way. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. I literally don't care. I didn't mind his challenge just when I thought the reward was potentially worth it. So I have it's not even a thing on his resume for me at the moment. But it continues. If he it's just probably happenstance more than anything else at the moment. I'm not concerned about it one iota. All right. Anything else we have here? Do you think that Jacobs has played as well as his 2022 season? I don't think he's quite there, but probably 95% of that. His ability to do any type of run is so useful. I think he's probably like 90% of that season, but I don't really care. He's been awesome. He's been really, really good. He's been everything I could have hoped for and expected. He's definitely been better than he was in 2023. And I really love what he's brought to this team. So I will eat the L, if you remember correctly, when Green Bay went into free agency. I don't think this got much play. So I'm gonna self-check myself on this one. When I said of like players that Green Bay could potentially spend big money on going into this, before they even had like illusions of potentially signing him. Like I said, I think it would be a really bad idea for Green Bay to go get Josh Jacobs. Now you had Aaron Jones on the roster at the time, and I thought Jacobs was coming off one of his worst seasons. Did not look great. Would not have been the direction I would have gone. I would not have done that. Like, that's not as a coach GM, not a move that I would have made. I'm glad Goody did. He's been a big time value add for this team. I will eat the L on that one. Now, when I went and watched his tape further and went into all of it, I could understand it a lot better. And we went into that at the time. But you can very much see what the vision was for Goody, and it's definitely paid off in a major way. Speaking of crutch phrases, when speaking, I enjoyed this observation question from my college anthropology profession. If something is neither here nor there, where is it? I don't even have time my brain will break if I try thinking of that today, Donald. Oh, am I breaking news to the Andy Herman, Jordan Morgan out for the year per Matt Schneidman from Matt LaFleur from their interview? Well, that sucks. Don't like that one bit. So, interesting. How have I not seen anything about that? Interesting. I have not confirmed that. I have not seen anything about that, but I'm assuming you're correct, Ski. But was it regular season or like playoffs too? Because that's a different connotation as well. But that'd be a bummer if he was out for the remainder of this year. At the Saints game last year, you knew he was the man. All right. You knew at the time. Kudos to you. You don't say Matt LaFleur is a bad coach. We don't need to get into all of this. Andy, we need I'm assuming podcast meetup before the Bears game. I don't think I'm going to have any meetups. I have the meetup coming up at the Admirals game this coming Saturday. I think that might be the only thing that I have the energy for at the moment, but we'll continue to do a lot of QAs here. We'll see. Maybe something sometime, but I don't see anything coming up in the near future. We'll see what the next month or so next few weeks bring, but I don't see one before the Bears game coming up. Pack-a-day meetup in Minnesota. I'm still sad that we didn't get to see a duo with Jacobs and Jones. That would have been fun. All right, friends. I got to get some offensive grades done, so I'm going to get out of here. I went a little bit longer today because A, you guys were amazingly generous, and B, because I was the one who, all right, so Holmes confirms Morgan is out. Crazy. And yes, Griffin, Luigi's Pizza is killer, but I wanted to go a little bit longer for you guys since I messed up and did non-members Q&A and opened it up to everyone on accident, which it's turned out great. We got to all the members chats anyway today. So appreciate you guys being here. Is it just me or more Packers cuts practice squad players getting picked up than previous years? There's definitely been some. I think 4 practice squad guys that have ended up elsewhere at some point this season, but that's what happens when you have a good draft and develop team. Steinman teased some info yesterday during the show from his interview that drops today at 6. Morgan being out was one of the tidbits. Got it. Somehow I missed that completely. All right, friends, enjoy the rest of your day. At 4 o'clock today, the Ross and Dusty episode is coming out. Obviously, for all of you members, it's already out there for you. For members also, Ross's 3 Things is out there from Packers Seahawks. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., Pack-A-Day Live. So I'll be back for that tomorrow night. Happy hour at 3 p.m. on Friday. We'll do pre-game on Monday, I think. We'll have to see how we do that. We'll do something live on Monday for sure. And then no post-game, though, in all likelihood. You guys are the best. Enjoy your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow live on Pack-A-Day Live. But until next time, and as always, go Pack, go.